Good day, folks. Here we have another find from a local thrift store. Kind of surprisingly cheap, Dell Latitude CP. Now, out of the way. This is, if we take a look at the bottom here, model number PPL, Dell Latitude CP M233XT, which doesn't really mean a whole lot. I've never figured out what the M and the last couple of digits meant. I know at least one of them refers to the display type. For example, the old P133ST Latitude XPI, there was also an SD model where the T meant TFT display, and the D obviously meant dual scan, passive matrix. Maybe that is the same deal here. Maybe this would have been offered with a passive matrix display. I don't know. I would have to think that this is a little bit new for a passive matrix display, but again, I could be wrong. It's not the best condition ever. The front latch is broken, so we could just go ahead and open it here. You can see when we open it, it doesn't look too bad. There is a damaged key there on the keyboard, but looks like it is otherwise in okay shape, keyboard-wise. It's a trackpad, which is functional. It's about all I can think of to say about it. It's not that great. There's a battery there. And an optical drive, just a standard CD-ROM, is from what I can tell. Designed for Windows 95 or Windows NT, Pentium MMX. Clocked at, of course, 233 megahertz. Take a look on the side. There's the hard drive caddy, which is nice to see. I think this does actually have a hard drive in it. It's kind of heavy. Unfortunately, the PCMCIA card slots are a little bit broken. But I mean, I guess it's not that big of a loss. I don't really have much in the way of PC cards I'd want to put in something like this anyway. It's pretty much got everything built in. The only thing that I think it's missing is Ethernet. But it's got PS2 VGA serial. There's a single USB port in parallel. That would be USB 1.1. Underneath this is the docking station port, and I gotta be honest, I can't figure out how to get that open. So, there's one thing. Cooling vent there. DC input, which, yes, is one of those Dell ones, but it takes a standard PA6 adapter. It does say PA2 on the bottom. I think I read that somewhere. Yes, for use with adapter PA2, but the PA6 is interchangeable. So that's a pretty standard adapter that there are about 1 million of floating around because Dell used it for a long time. And there are your audio ports, including a line input, which is something you will not see any longer. So go ahead and re-plug it in with this convenient PA6 plug. Let's see if I can find it here. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but it does actually work. You can see it jumps straight into claiming that the battery is charging. I kind of doubt that very highly. I've never turned this on, though, so I have no idea what it's about to do. There is a hard drive. Ooh. Doesn't sound very good, though. Yikes. Yeah, that sounds terrible. Oh, got into setup. So I guess there's one thing. Obviously, the date and time is no longer any good. Pentium 233, 64 megabytes in memory, a Neo Magic NM2160. What would that be? Magic Graph 128? Something like that. 2 megabytes in memory. Crystal audio, good to see. 4.1 gig hard drive, if it still happens to work. And there's the service tag. Now, let's see. Most of this is probably standard. I'll go ahead and you can pause the video if you'd like to read any of these. Holy crap. Okay, that's actually impressive. If that holds a charge, I will be very impressed. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Oh, it's trying to boot into Windows 98. See if that hard drive is any good. I might have to stop the video, depending upon what this does. It's an IBM hard drive. Yeah, it's not supposed to make noises like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to be replacing that drive with something else. Unfortunately, the system might be limited in terms of what I can replace it with. Yeah, let's make it even more unhappy noises, and there is the emission of defeat. Can't even press a key on the keyboard. Oh, maybe the keyboard doesn't actually work. I could hit retry, so I guess we got a keyboard in this. Ooh. I guess we got a keyboard in this that doesn't work. Yeah, it sounds great. Yikes. Alright, I think I'm going to just pull the chute on this. And I'll see if I can dig up a drive and maybe a keyboard out of my parts bin. Well, there's good and bad news. I do have a stack of these Dell systems that will eventually be featured in their own video. This one's in pretty sorry shape, but the keyboard is not going to be interchangeable. Because insofar as I can tell, they are different. I know that this one's got a track point on it, or whatever the Dell trademark was, because I don't remember. And this one does not. So that's going to be a problem right there. And I think that the layout is a little bit more condensed on this as opposed to this, so it's not going to fit. So that's out of the question. But these do all have hard drives. So I should, in theory, be able to take the hard drive out of this one and put it into that. Okay, well, forget about pulling the drive out of that Dell, because that's going to be a pain. It's also a much larger drive. That's a 40 gigabyte. I thought this was like a 10 or something, but 40 gigs is probably a bit much. I happen to have in my collection this right here, which is quite a bit smaller than the original. It's a 1.4 gig instead of a 4.1. A little bit older, but not by much. By exactly a year. Go figure. Still also has a Dell part number tag on it too, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I'm going to swap those out. I don't know what health this is in. I believe that it was pulled out of the Versa 6030X when I got rid of it. So it's probably got like DOS and 3.1 and whatever on it. But I'll go ahead and I'll throw it in here. I don't really like these setups. There's got a lot of screws and a lot of extra things that you can lose. Okay, put the new, I don't know if you can really call it that, drive in. Let's see what happens. Missing operating system. Well, that's not a surprise. Does at least sound a little bit healthier. I am curious, what happens when I pull the power? It runs. Huh. So that battery is not totally junk. Interesting. Sees the hard drive, no problem. Probably not the best health ever. Again, I'm going to have to load it with an operating system. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be just yet. Could be Windows NT. Might just end up being another Windows 95 machine. I don't know. But for now, that is pretty much it for this Dell Latitude CP. Stay tuned. I have noted the crack there, yes. There's also one there at the hinges. It's a pretty common thing for these. Happens all the time. But yeah, I think we got ourselves a winner here. And pull that off. That doesn't need to stay on there. Looks like it left some residue, but I don't think it did. I think it's okay. And yes, before somebody even makes a comment about it, because they will, there is a PowerMac 5200 here. Power Macintosh. Well, actually, it's a Performa 5215 CD, but same machine, different name, really. And yes, it suffered some shipping boo-boo damage, but it does work. And again, it will be featured in its own video at some point, whenever it is, and I manage to get around to it. But just like the other two classic Macs, it might be a little bit. Love that startup chime. Yes, like I said, it works just fine, despite the boo-boo. Unfortunately, it's running OS 9, which is really too much for the machine to handle. So, anyway, there's your quick glimpse. See you later.